heard Galway Canal read, he memorized all his poems. I was like 18, I heard him read, and I was like, oh shit. You have to memorize them all and then read them? I don't. I haven't memorized a single poem of mine. I'm turning 60. Hi, my name is Sir Geoffrey. I'm a limpid nerd. This doesn't mean I don't possess many special qualities or that I'm not warm, even sensitive when summoned to the head of the line as I just have been. My skin tingles when I pass a cage full of rabbits. I like chop suey except when it's crammed into a can. I'm a robust marshmallow 4 days a week, but I've been known to ingest long strings of meat when they haven't been individually wrapped in plastic. When you cross the last threshold, shed your sacred dog mask, stranger, and burst into tears of unrepentant joy. This is all I will ever ask. I wrote a series of poems. Oh wait. So, you know that plastic shopping bag you see that says I used to be a plastic bottle? Do you have that? You don't have that? South Bend doesn't have that?
Not yet.
All right, so you can buy this, get the shopping bag. You feel like you're being ecologically enlightened because it said I used to be a plastic bottle. And it was staring at me for months because of the room that I was staying in. It was like on the hook, and I got sick of it. Confessions of a recycled shopping bag. I used to be a plastic bottle. I used to be scads of masticated waddle. I used to be epic spittle, aka septic piddle. I used to be a pleasant colleague. I used to be a radiant ingredient. I used to be a purple polyethylene pony. I used to be a phony upload project. I used to be a stony blue inhalant. I used to be a family-sized turquoise bottle. I used to be a domesticated pink bubble. I used to be a pleasant red colleague. I used to be a beaming cobalt emollient. I used to be a convenient chartreuse antidepressant. So I wrote a series of poems. I started in 1987, and then I finally got around to finishing it. I sort of get tired of like Charlie Chan and all these kind of dopey Asians that you get to watch in movies. So I decided to invent my own figure, Genghis Chan, sort of Humphrey Bogart with slinky eyes. Genghis Chan, private eye. I was floating through a cross-section with my dusty wine glass when she entered, a shivering bundle of shredded starlight. You don't need words to tell a story, a gesture will do. These days we're all parasites looking for a body to cling to. I'm nothing more than riff-raff splendor drifting past the runway. I always keep a supply of lamprey lipstick around, just in case. She laughed, a slashed melody of small shrugs. It had been raining in her left eye. She began a cloud or story broken in two, maybe four places, wooden eyelids and a scarf of human hair. She paused. I offer you dervish bleakness and glistening sediment. It was late, and we were getting jammed in deep. I was on the other side, staring at the snow-covered moon pasted above the park. A foul lump started making promises in my voice. So I'll just read one or two more from this. Genghis Chan, Private Eye 6. I'm just another particle cloud gliding across the stream. A swamp chanter doodling on the margins of the abyss. I prefer rat backs to diplomatic curls. I'm the owner of one pockmarked tongue. I park it on the hedge between sure bets and bad business. Angus Chan, Private Eye 27, Mugu, Milk Mush, Guy Pan, Piss Pot. Don't go to a Chinese restaurant with me. You might wonder what you're eating. And then I started to play around with the notion of the ideogram. So these are kind of sound poems. Disguise the limit. And then I'll read one more. This is 48. Long hours toiling at the terminal. Beady eyes stuck in a cantaloupe. Exotic wildlife in easily disposable jars. All yours for only a fraction of a lifetime. I was found in a field of leaves and overturned squirrels. A great disappointment awaits you until further notice. Join together and cry for your temporary place in line. Mortification is the least of my inflictions. Refresh the parts of yourself that remain enamored of the dark. Igor, Iago, and Ichabod sniff the love seat before reaching a consensus. And all along, you thought I was a zombie, making naughty noises at you. Then I was asked to write about Eve Klein. I'm just going to read one from this. Maybe two. I'll read two, but not in the right order. So this is 3. I recently declared that the artist of tomorrow will continuously recreate herself by being able to levitate. I've already made the first steps toward work of this type. I commanded my living brushes by remote control. And then this is 1. My fundamental self is at war with my multiple personalities. I love everything that does not belong to me, which is to say my life. But I despise everything that belongs to me. Education, inherited psychology, physical attributes. In short, anything that is me because of exterior circumstances. My multiple selves are at war with my fundamental personality because one is never only one. I'm aware that in writing this, I've committed an error of diplomacy. I've recognized that people will claim these notes and thoughts are confused, poorly expressed, as if expression has anything to do with it, emphatic, for they've been written day by day, even during the rain that threatens to close down the sky. I know that many will regard these statements as another example of bad taste, a poor substitute for poetry, when in fact poetry is not what I'm after. My fundamental self despises all that belongs to me, multiple personalities, butterflies, and silent hoarding, each more poorly expressed than the previous era of diplomacy. Who claims these notes are inherited circumstances? My multiple selves are at war with substitutes for poetry. My fundamental self is at war with poems offered as substitutes. I know that many will conclude these statements do not belong to me. I'm aware in writing this during the rain that it is not raining. So Yves Klein was a French artist. He's famous. Probably all know this photograph where he's jumped out the window and he has a nice suit on. He's about to land on the cobblestone street. It's obviously staged photograph. So I'll read just a couple of these. I had the idea of writing what I call Egyptian sonnets, because of course the Egyptians didn't write sonnets. And I was thinking of Egyptians as a gang hanging around a schoolyard. Don't ask me, I don't know where I got that thought, but I decided to stick with it once I got it because it seemed so dopey. Don't be vexed, dear jackals. Look upon this pavilion night where wounded statues murmur unutterable things and words circle themselves like broken satellites. strange devices harnessed with wings. Let your pages charm the charmed of our brief time, hunkered down in their glowworm hermitage, sparkling with carrion, stars as thick as flies, subterranean cataract, portal, precipice, bastion, fall through rifts of sky and black foam, covers our dented prows, painted eyes. Oh, my beloved, look through your tears and your cries. Heaven still sits inside a gem, copied in pomegranate and vermilion. And I'll read one more. Horizon helmet, horse hierophant. Sun presses clay snakes back into rows of snarling eyes. Bristles brings back their prey. Red tent clouds lifting wings. Blue wizardry of lizards falling from mouth of lion mounted in umber sky. By the time you reached me, I was fading into paint. Dust lips were all that remained. Moon's prim carcass, black stars framed mirror pulled by a chariot. Dog circle imprint shadow. I cannot stop and look back. I should have carved my name into your face. Yeah, I'll read one more. They're such happy poems. How can I not read them? I'll read the second one. It was going to read that, and I skipped it. 2. A hippo sits patiently in a palm tree while a hoopoe hops up a ladder. On desert's edge, far from flickering oil lamps, a sloogie plays tag with jackals. A leopard herds gazelles and geese with a jeweled flute. And a young lady rat sitting on a pearl throne waits for monkeys to slide forth their gifts. A lion and a fox visit a sick ibis. A hyena stops a goose from running into its mouth. And panthers stand petrified in front of a white cat ambling toward the library. The first idol was a goddess with the body of a hippopotamus. So I'm going to read some new work. I don't think I've ever read any of these in public, so I need a sip of water. I'm going to start by reading a longer one. So you probably all know that Delmore Schwartz phrase, "In dreams begin responsibilities." Have you ever thought about that line? It's so horrifying. You can't be irresponsible in dreams. Where can you be irresponsible? So I decided to rewrite that line. Sorry. Different drum. In dreams begin responsibilities, Delmore Schwartz. In dreams begin irresponsibilities, wayward emotional flights, reels and rolls, lost footage, folded in torn snapshots, exits bolted in the middle of street telephone, rotting inside story, old flame postcards, crooked black cradles, donuts, toxic modules, sweet parade, dust sputtering in cooperation room down from where you are a scientist or a druggist, a head wound with blue knitted scarf and cordovan and corduroy, crunch of caravan, pressing your nose against earth, Cupid's broken left arm. Grant this poet, this wheezing pariah, this purveyor of riddled language, this impecunious slug, this soiled stew pit, tattooed status of blue stethoscope sky, poisonous petals growing in vats, dotted ursine lump, borrowed archer. Blessed be these bits in glassy grime, morning coolness, swirling butterflies. Special attention must be paid to journeying along narrow paths between Santa and Satan, Samarkand and Sausalito, between monastically cropped lawns raising their spikes in triumph, snapped open and released, almanacs cataloging temptations, salvations, redemptions, averted and advertised, soft, icy sonnet, lemonade with melted couplet, meticulously cut cubes of cheese, but poetry of obligatory peephole, poetry of commonplace sorrow made special, attention calling, intricacies of divorce, desertion, disaster, island of scholarly flocks, pork barrel and beans, the carcass is a remnant of what fled the scene, dragging its tongue across the earth to no avail, windows nailed shut in yellow clay, doors burned to their shadows, copious ashes boomeranging across barn, slain brethren amending backyard barbecue pits, determined inhabitants hatched in spectrum of normalized behavior, substitute underworld arcade, incarcerated conversation, daughter of a cancer, son of an egregious terror. There are many ways to repeat yourself. This is not one of them. This is fragrance skipping amok amidst sacred hydrocarbons, scintillation of metallic water. Graffiti, poems of germ engravers disguised as grave diggers. Graffiti, done as a seagull stuck on the end of a plastic fork. Graffiti, plenum of glabrous vampires await further distribution, gleaming pink arrangement and camera shy, using only long ropes and sharpened pegs. Ban the use of euphemisms. This poem will not extol virtues of the one-room schoolhouse, bootstrap, dragging pulley mechanism, grand pasha of motivating metaphors, heated by pot-bellied police officer, spoonfuls of coal dangled into mouth of glowing ghosts flocking at door of meaning. Trumpet clock's composition of anxiety, notoriously unwilling to offer burial, plagiarism plagued provinces, Egyptian garage complete with gas-operated chariot, whalebone bathtub, and muslin shawl. Do not slobber on yourself in an attempt to be distracting and beautiful. Do not paraphrase your green fatty regions. They are lectures on the inevitability of collapse. Do not pretend to fabricate frivolity, just another post in the worm fence. Do not dance around bride toiling at her daily bread, claiming I was not myself that day, or anyone else for that matter. Time travel is a popular vacation resort, vacated escort, where thinking becomes a form of relief, a polka dot rain cloud attempting to communicate with a pink mesa. More pilgrims dutifully trudge across 6-lane highway of higher education, enter the great rotunda, each sucking a lozenge, blessed impediment, granted imperceptible privileges. Summer accentuates colors found in parking lots, drive-through commuter carpet. Majestic mauve not among them. The air you breathe becomes iron-free collar, grammatical reaction to inherited condition, corruption engine, steaming stacks of paper, widows and widowers waiting to greet you at end of long journey, poem trafficking in words, circling mountains of shoes and shirts, dentures from another time and place, weather conjuring spiral dregs, character development no longer part of the syllabus, consigned to bevy of blonde-colored bleachers flooded with glissando pigments. This is not the right time to imitate nausea. Unhitch your wagon from horses of irritability. Gallant nights melt in merciless sun. Daylight's rubber eraser sticking dust to your lips. Thanks. So, we were talking about the internet earlier. I get a lot of poems from internet. Should I admit that? I'm really interested in how the Chinese were represented in the news. So there was one about a man in Hong Kong who was shopping with his girlfriend in a mall. Do you know the story? Evidently she drives him crazy, so he jumps off the mall into the center and kills himself. And the news is reported. And then, of course, the threads of who this man is and what Chinese people are like. I couldn't help myself. I was a lurker. I read every single one of them. And then I just decided to start this group of poems based on things I read about Chinese people on the internet. The Chinese have what's called opinion sonnet, and there's 10 of them. I'm just going to read a couple. The Chinese have highly sensitive nervous systems. As everyone knows, acute temporary madness following prolonged stress is episodically endemic among them. This is why social harmony and peace and not rocking the boat is paramount in their societies wherever they've sprung up. Fortunately, when they go mad, they generally only harm or kill themselves. Their deranged ire is most often inwardly directed. Their program is truly different than ours, which explains the multitudinous hierarchical, non-individualistic, even socially oneric types of societies that exist throughout the Far East to this day. Good Lord. And then, of course, you must know the story about Mark Wahlberg, right? He wanted to improve his hamburger empire, but he had gotten in trouble when he was young, so he couldn't get a license, which I was not unhappy about. Because do we really need more Wahlberg hamburgers? So this is him talking about what he did when he was young. And then he goes to church. Can you say that, Notre Dame? And so you're saying he got religion. Sometimes you got to let everyone know that you can churn more moolah into every niche of your empire. You see, son, I'm the smooth Megillah who learned from my messy errors. I saw how to be a jerk that pleases the one who greases wheels and palms. Yes, I go to church nearly every day, and I'm not so shiny that I won't get down and pray. But I have to say that I disagree with the concept of an eye for an eye when it means that old gook would get mine and all I'd get back is his broken DNA. And then this is just another one where he's speaking. Why bring up that old tirade of slurs when it was just some slurring slipping from my swollen, drunken tongue, me and another life I left behind. Even as the neighborhood's tarnished star, I can still say that I outshine all of you, but I need not recite that story again. It's already written in the fat of your lives. Haven't I learned to be perfectly polite, a form of manipulation none of you have ever learned to master? Don't my checks earn me a second chance? Some people deserve more. Frankly, I'm one of them. All right. This is based on a painting by J.M.W. Turner called The Burning of the House of Lords and Commons, Houses of Lords and Commons, 1835. Written in the shadows cast by the burning of the Houses of Lords and Commons, 1835, by J.M.W. Turner. At one point in the story, the rain was green and the sky was pink, shot through with painterly streaks of mauve and gray. Everyone, including the servants and maids, went onto the veranda and began applauding. It wasn't yet evening. Even those who were on the outside of the narrative, those like us who had no place in the story, were invited to attend this momentous event. Along the riverbanks, the fulsome reflections of flowers blossomed in every imaginable hue. Some colors floated slowly toward the sky like boats ferrying the dead to their destination. Twisted mazes of sparks led the way. It was a celebration, an announcement of dread and joy. We were lost within a swirling storm of seraphic color, dripping with the revelations the sky had flung in our faces. That's when it came to our attention that the palace is on fire, but no one dared cross the river and approach its gates. This is a different story. Its narrative promising that the construction and destruction of civil order would occur naturally, like the weather or the flags flying within it. This is the story none of us were invited to attend unless we already had taken up residence in its chapters, with its stained pages rising toward the fiery ceiling the architect had told them would be blue forever. This is the story that did not invite intervention. 2. Just as there are 2 paintings with many witnesses huddled on the far shore, there are at least 2 stories in those who weren't invited to listen to them. This story happened before we met. No one but us remembers it now, 2 shadows standing beneath a stone arch, a dark river flowing past. What does it mean to be alone with each other, sharing memories no one else has? Or perhaps this is the story that cannot be addressed, the one that started with and without our consent, the one we're still telling, the one in which we become honorary citizens of a city not yet named, inhabitants of a small city, a hovel in the sky. As it is, we're spoonfuls of ashes scattered among the day's abominations. We'll never be sure how our voices intersected amidst the pillars constantly being erected for and against prismatic densities by which one is supposed to swear lifelong allegiance. Such alliances seem based on a different astrology than the one guiding us through the night. There's another set of stars in the sky, and we don't know their names or their purpose. This is what is pulling us across the burning lake. This is a dream which one of us later told the other, or dreamed of telling the other, as the difference between these two types of flying have dissolved long ago. Each of us lay there thinking, I wish I could say something about our future that will come true. 3, this is the last section. A room each of us wanted to erect, a story or shelter against the wind that untethered us from everything we tried to hold on to, from concrete nodes to abstract ideas. Each of us needed that shaded plateau, that place where sensual asides could unfold without interruption. On the small shelves on which we pretended to sleep, when vast constellations of villainous orthography prowled the land, looking for components to evaporate into bursts of fiery laughter, we realized the world was porous and that we were handfuls of sand trickling through its openings into the sea waiting below. How to hold on to ourselves and each other without threatening the seedlings beneath the skin. In the beginning, we told ourselves there was an exit somewhere for us to begin making up what had never happened and in all likelihood never would. Later, we told each other in one way or another that there was a window with a view of paradise. We silently agreed that the window doesn't open because it was never there, but that the shadows of its imprint could be seen on the opposite wall. Some days we sit facing them, trying to decipher their promises, but more often than not, we look the other way, still believing that there's something else we need to see. Talking about Pantoons earlier. This is at the tomb of Narcissus. It was based on where I was thinking of Caravaggio and Narcissus with the figures looking at the water. And it mirrors it, and then in a Pantoon each line repeats itself, so I had a little game with that. Mirrors embrace so many lives, you part company. This minor moon, for example, praises a cratered face. The green visage hides inside a bird's panicked epithet. I was raised to pay close attention to anonymity. This minor moon, for example, praises a cratered face. Do you see that I have 2 masks now? Neither is mine. I was raised to pay close attention to anonymity. Do you like this map of an orange shirt with 4 buttons? Do you see that I have 2 masks now? Neither is mine. This is my studio, my dream space. Do you belong here? Do you like this map of an orange shirt with 4 buttons? The earliest that you can become a stranger is now. This is my studio, my dream space. Do you belong here? I used to think that I could see the city from above. The earliest that you can become a stranger is now. It's necessary to sit in a room and tally the remaining comets. I used to think that I could see the city from above. I used to believe that roots spit flowers from their grave. It's necessary to sit in a room and tally the remaining comets. I'm smiling, but I'm not smiling. It's nearly twilight. I used to think that roots spit flowers from their graves. From their grave, mirrors embrace so many lives. You part company. I'm smiling, but I'm not smiling. It's nearly twilight. A greener visage hides inside a bird's panicked epithet. All right, so this was written in the shadow of Francis Bacon's self-portrait triptych, 1985-86. I haven't got a clue as to why I woke up in these clothes. Someone else's cheaply manufactured persona, a bag of discounted egg noodles clutched in one hand, throttling a dream's sweet neck with the other. I still don't understand how my face ended up in the painting that you're laughing at while the rest of me was tossed in the trash. Not even the bird that whispers in my ear knows the answer to this ridiculous riddle. And I still have no idea why I'm straddling a broken tricycle waiting for snow to obliterate this poem, nor do I understand why my declarations of love are considered unwarranted distractions, an annoying mosquito full of venom it doesn't know it's carrying. So I'll read two more. Right? Yes. This is what, I don't know if this is finished or not. I've just been working on it for the last, I don't know how long. But I talked to the class about it. How do you start a poem? So I heard this dumb line in my head. Paradise is not a pair of dice. And then I thought, I'm sunk, I gotta keep going. Paradise is not a pair of dice, trolling chance markers, barking prophet, true terminology, flophouse, belly jar, swamp, swan, over beer dive, eyeglass, emoticon sign, leisure suit agog and honeymoon slime, inflation drip, nuclear reactor, epidemic disposal team, bomb strap for stash. When did space stop secreting secure sites for post facto mutual admiration? Natural selection assault your pillow of salt today? I'm a security guard with no security, blue melon, melancholy moon potato. Rigid cement clouds running length of corruptible daylight, sloping in opposite direction of fan. I convinced myself you would last forever, a reflection inhabiting mirror's silver crypt. The next fiefdom frolic is on the table. This is an elaborate funeral for flatter sky, and this is a purloined bedwetter, a National Assembly prevention team. I was never in the photo. I'm a shadow buried in history. Fortitude is a reservoir of unhappiness, suited disguise, a pole halter stuck in a vault, banked with spit. Inflammation agents repossess dual solidity. Sickness is an efficient form of communication. Revolutionary sticklers surge through the pummel. Let us reenact the joys of public fleecing. Feces retrieval units will soon be on their way, which is why no one else is allowed in this private sanitation cemetery. Average, prefabricated savage money manager. Would you like some gallows with your next humidor? I mounted the winding stairs. I climbed a wizened tree. Catch up by accommodating your flexibility. Pug nuzzling is allowed if you keep it to yourself. I take mine straight with a dollop of sweating mandibles. I'm a vice president who has no advice to spread around. A junior executive lounge lizard with updated character flaws. So this is the last one I'll read. called Firefly Promises. It's in 4 sections. Each of us began in mid-sentence. Warring fray, blue electricity filling the air. Motion whispers anyone could see through if they stopped to look. This is the snapshot I see when I close my eyes. Faded music, rush of disclosures followed by missives delivered in an electronic suitcase. Walking on either side of the river of self-loathing, learning not to step into it though we slip and it is unavoidable. Later, learning the names of those missteps so as not to make them again, though often dead, as each said to the other in the future imperfect, from across the stream that widens and thins according to a tarot deck whose cards are never seen. Reasons or excuses? Which will we run out of first? Do we know when we started that the river was between us and that we drank from it, seeing not our reflection, but that of someone we didn't wish to resemble, even if we did? Some of this is real, and some of this is oxygen. Details are crumbs and scabs to be picked at, the subsistence diet one could go fat on. What did you do with the fumes, the fuming, while scampering up the ladder of assuming? What disdain greets you, happy to welcome you home? What question that is already answered shall be asked of you next? Where's the rest of the bruised honey? Whose relic have you become? Why try on what doesn't spare you? What was I just saying or thinking to say to you? The words hesitant. A smokestack unfolding its letters to the sky, which is always hurrying to the bus station full of wickedness and fast food. Am I capable of saying this, or even this? Other than in mid-sentence, how shall I continue, knowing there's no end in sight? This is not what the river told me would happen. 2. It is said that this is a human space we occupy, but today I'm not so sure. I wonder if we are in it, or it is in us, a verb and a noun that have yet to announce their shapes and directions. Are we adrift or simply drifting? Did we know that we would reveal ourselves so quickly? Did we know we would lead each other over valleys of pain because we didn't try to cover them nor find any reason to call attention to their presence? They weren't monuments after all. Sympathy wasn't what we wanted. That's what everyone asked for, a quick solve to bathe the deep ruins. It was as if all we wanted to do was start at the beginning and talk. Was such a beginning possible? Had we guessed that other sentences would follow the first slow greeting and the unexpected comfort of talking that began filling the air between you and I, between all the pronouns we occupied and abandoned? Had we ever thought that it might be possible to talk about the pronouns we left behind, shed, buried, drove away, got rid of in a hurry, or whisper about the ones we still carried within us? Had we imagined the growing cascades filling missives sent from miles away to someone sitting or driving, moving along a road the other would never see? The only thing that holds us together are the words we send each other. Some days the words seem even more real than we are. It was as if I had never talked to anyone before, or it was that I had never talked to you before, talked to someone who seemed so open to what I was saying that the words appeared to fly through you. Your answers were not words, or at least as I thought I knew them. They plunged into me and they stayed wherever I looked. I began hearing them playing back. I imagine this is what it must have been like for Odysseus when he had his crew tied to the mast. Music that not even music could describe. He must have kept hearing them long after the island vanished behind the horizon. Wasn't that a crazy smile on his face? 3. You've become a figment of my imagination, telling me that whatever I wish for must remain unspoken. It's true, humans do not live on love alone. Bread and whiskey do not cover the rent. What do we become but scowling vacuum cleaners trying to clean the mess we've made of daily existence? The telltale crumbs of pointless loathing, are only part of the widening story that no one wants to tell. The rest are gestures, celebrated poems, overactive prurience. I decided it is better if I send a letter than a poem, a dream instead of a fiction, something dropped into the sea. This is by no means a testimony trudging ashore. Not even a poet's ego should be that grandiose. Rather, it's a small corner of the page that I'm trying to take up, the corner of a corner. On it I've written that one day I will watch you sleeping in my clothes. I don't know where this thought came from, but I refuse to put it away. 4 is the last one. I'm copying down what I'm being told to write. It's not a voice I hear, yours or mine or anyone else's, but the space between words that seems to fill with other words, other indications, hints or hums, the kind of music that words cannot accompany, falling away from their small handles on the world like leaves on a windy day. I'm copying down what I'm being told to write, but I keep thinking these are my words, not someone else's, that I'm thinking and saying and sending to you. And yet it's not you that I'm writing to, is it? It's my idea of you, my illusion, my dream or glimpse, a string of silhouettes. This can only mean that this is my ode to failing to write a poem worthy of your attention. Am I extolling you or extirpating words that are poor exposures of the quandary of pronouns you tell me constitute some of the parameters of your inexhaustible inferno? Is this what it means to fall out of the unauthorized sky? Is this what it means to be a feather borne by the wind or a cloud of thwarted eagerness? What brought us to this ocean of loneliness in which we can hear each other swimming in the distance? Thanks.